Well, hello, friends. My name is Matt. I'm the youth and family pastor at Cornerstone Church, and I'm here today with your Cornerstone Connection, a daily devotional. So, recently I've been working my way through the book of Daniel, which is just a tremendous book. It's a fascinating story and just a tremendous testimony of faithfulness from a follower of God like Daniel. By the time we meet him in chapter 6, and he's under the rule of a third king. First it was Nebuchadnezzar, then it was Belshazzar, and now it's King Darius. And as we meet him in chapter 6, once again, because of his faithfulness to God and his commitment to doing what's right, Daniel has been promoted in the kingdom of King Darius. King Darius has decided to have 120 satraps, these province overseers, and then to rule those 120 satraps, he has appointed 3 administrators to look over and make sure that the king isn't losing anything. And so Daniel's one of these 3 administrators. Well, get to this point in which Daniel, it says in verse 3 of chapter 6, it says, "Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom." So Daniel's really having a lot of success here. But we find out not everybody's so happy about it. You see, there's these other administrators and the 120 satraps, they're getting jealous. And so they're looking for ways to accuse Daniel of doing something wrong. And so they're just searching out all these different ways, and they begin to find out. It says in verse 4, it says that they could not find any corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Then it says, "Finally these men said, 'We will never find any basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God.'" And so they've come to this place where they look at Daniel and go, "This guy is flawless. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's integrous, and he doesn't neglect any of his duties. There's no way that we're going to get this guy." And many of you know the story. This is the famous chapter 6, Daniel in the lion's den. And so, they go to King Darius and they say, nobody in the next 30 days should go and pray to anybody but you. And of course, Daniel says, "Well, that's against the law of my God." And so he just goes and he just keeps praying. And so they, figure this out, and they see him praying, and they convict him of that crime, and he gets thrown in the lion's den. Angel comes in, shuts the mouths of the lions. Daniel survives the night, and then those guys who accused him were thrown in the lion's den along with their families, and they're done for. Not a good ending for those guys, right? But anyways, as I'm reading this just amazing story, it got me to thinking, and I couldn't quite place it for a while. I had to do a little searching, but it got me thinking of eventually 1 Peter in chapter 2, where he's talking to believers who are living among Gentiles, and Gentiles who are against what these Christians believe in. And he says in 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 11 to 12, and this is a great word for all of us to apply to our lives, and it just relates so well with what I've been reading in Daniel. Peter writes this. He says, "Dear friends, I urge you as aliens and strangers in the world, since our citizenship really isn't here, but it's in heaven." He says, "I urge you to abstain from sinful desires which war against your soul." Verse 12, "Live such good lives," here it comes, "live such good lives among the pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day he visits us." I love this. You and I are challenged to live out our faith and to seek to do good deeds, not because that earns our salvation, but it's proof and it's evidence of our salvation. And what I love is, unlike Daniel's story where, these guys falsely accused him and eventually they paid for it and their families paid for it, Peter says, "I want you to live such good lives, God-honoring lives among them, so that perhaps they're going to glorify God someday. They're going to look at your conduct. Even though they accuse you of things, they're going to look at your conduct and say, wow, they're the real deal, and I want to be like that. I want to follow God like they do." And they turn to God. What a great challenge that Peter gives the believers back then, but also gives to us today. Dear friend, may your conduct and may my conduct not just bring God glory, but may it bring sinners to repentance so that they may be saved and they may know the same God that you and I know. Be encouraged, be challenged, and have a great day. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.